So Kevin, thanks for taking the time to chat today. I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course, and good to see you again.
Yes, it's been a minute.
Yeah.
So you've talked a lot about the connection between mental health and performance, and I'd love to get the specific habits that keep you sharp both physically and mentally. So what does your game day routine look like from the minute you wake up till tip off?
Sure. I actually just did it now to make sure I was sharp for this interview. I try and wake up and definitely make sure that I'm breathing right, proper nutrients, so always drinking a ton of water. I typically have my coffee after I have a very healthy and family-oriented type of a breakfast, but I was saying about just now, like a cold shower or cold immersion. So I do that to wake myself up as well as get a dopamine hit and really feel awake and alert to start the day. And then throughout the course of the day, just understanding what my brain and body needs. Not every day is made the same, is going to pose the same problems or adversity or be great in the same ways that you're typically used to, but understanding what makes you tick and learning on the fly for what you need for your brain and body is something that even in my 18th season in the NBA and trying to perform out there on the floor, I'm still learning, and I think that's the beauty of it, that we're all, I guess, not finished products, and I think that routine and what works for you continues to change over the course of time, but always breathing right, always hydrating, always eating right. I try to balance the everyday chaos with spending time with my family. So having that routine, as I mentioned, on top of making sure that all of those things are in alignment with where I'm trying to go and who I want to be, and paying it forward to others, that is all very much a part of it. But then we just spoke about it before we came on, and I know we'll speak about, obviously we're here to speak about the fund and younger kids, like with my family, young family, practicing gratitude throughout the course of the day is something that I'm consistently trying to do more of, and it helps me stay present and balanced.
So what's your one game day non-negotiable? Like if you're on the road or at home, what do you have to do?
I have to say too, because people who really know me since the birth of my wife and I, our two kids, I have to have my time in the morning with the babies. I know that's not always the case when we're not at home, but when we're at home, non-negotiable. And then, listen, sleep is such a huge part of recovery, as well as long-term and short-term benefits. So they call it the NBA nap for a reason, like making sure I get enough proper rest, even if I don't fall asleep during that time, making sure I can close my eyes, breathe, getting in a meditation type of space, and just making sure that when I'm up and ready to go, that in my mind I know I had that time to rest and therefore prepare for what's to come that evening when the game comes.
Yeah, how has your sleep evolved since your time in the league? Because in the beginning, I'm sure it's exciting and you want to go out in the cities, and now you're like, you understand the value of it. How has that changed over time?
I think I've been able to settle into that as a part of my routine. Therefore, I'm able to actually fall asleep pretty much, my shooting percentage is pretty dang good when you consider what it used to be in the past. I was so worked up about performance, and I think my identity as just a basketball player, that if I fail here, then everything else is going to fall into place, and my self-worth and self-compassion wasn't quite in the right place, where now just in working on myself and learning from others, understanding hey, listen, it's okay. Life isn't going to be perfect, and you can learn so much from the failure that may or may not happen, but don't make assumptions that you're already going to get to that point. So therefore, I've been able to breathe, my shoulders have lowered, and because of my great support staff and people in my life that I have, it's allowed me to just settle into that bed more. My head hits the pillow, and getting into that deep and restorative sleep and REM sleep has definitely been a benefit for me going forward. I'm not sure I could have changed that earlier in my career. Maybe I've talked to people more, or gone to therapy, or gotten on medication, or just worked on myself. But I'm very happy with where and how it's trended in a better direction. So sleep is just like, it just checks so many boxes.
Yeah, and I love you touching on self-worth, right? Because with especially new athletes in the league, collegiate athletes, high school, there's so much pressure that their worth is tied to their ability to play their sport. And I know at the Kevin Love Fund, you're doing a lot of work to try and change that thinking. So tell me about how that kind of incorporates into some of the curriculums.
I mean, from really the beginning of the Kevin Love Fund, I've continued to circle, just because I have gone through it throughout the course of my life and unpacking 20, maybe 5 years now of expectations from myself, but also from others, including parents, friends, coaches. There's so many people that expect so much from you when you're a student athlete. So again, it was something that I had really wanted to hone in on and circle as a space to impact so many kids going into the college ranks and student athletes. So with the Kevin Love Fund, being able to impact and allow for self-compassion and understanding you are more than just an athlete, and your identity doesn't have to be just tied up in achievement. I mean, I was that person who thought I could achieve myself out of my mental health struggles. And, once I got that next thing, I felt like I just came back to my initial baseline.
Yeah,
and
what's
like,
next?
Right, what's next? And why doesn't this fix me? And in some ways, it's a little bit of a driving force and a gift and a curse, but I've found that there just has to be a better way. And I don't think that anybody, let alone not just student athletes, but anyone benefits from withholding that compassion or self-compassion. So I think there is such a better happy medium and understanding the weight of those expectations and how hard, especially now, how hard it is to navigate today's ecosystem in high school sports, and maybe going all the way bleeding back into middle school to college, and having that understanding of a range of emotions even then. I mean, we're not taught that. That's why I think all this work is so important, that there's the physical health, there's sexual health, and many other things that we learn about, but we don't truly elicit the tools to really move the needle in a healthy direction for both men's and women's student athletes. So I think this is really important work, and I'm excited to see what comes of it, because I know people ask me all the time, what would you tell your younger self? And really at kind of that early teens and early 20s, for me, that timing was really my sweet spot for where I really could have used this and also applied it. So again, I think it's very useful and something I'm very proud of to be working in this space.
Yeah, that's amazing. And now you're rolling out an elementary school curriculum too, which is so fun to work with the young kids. So where did that idea come from to kind of target that age population?
Well, we had always talked about at the Kevin Love Fund, and everyone that we've worked with over the course of time since 2018, working with younger kids, working with elementary school kids, because as I can see, even with my 2-year-old who's going to preschool, like these emotions are, they weigh heavy regardless. And that regulation early intervention within the space as a broad stroke is so important. So again, I just think about myself at that age. I see friends and people within arm's distance that have children of that age, and you can just tell it's so needed. And with I don't know what things will look like for my daughter who's 2 right now, and in 10 years, 11 years when she gets into her early teens, what that, what the world is going to look like, and what challenges are going to be kind of in their world at that time. But at some point they're going to have to go through loss, or they're going to have failure, or they're going to not make a sports team, or they're going to miss a big shot, or they're going to not do well on a school project, or they are going to get, they're not going to be in the friend group that they want to. But whatever it is, understanding how to deal with those emotions, and also pay it forward to that next person, right? So if you know more about yourself, if you put your own oxygen mask on first, and you learn it earlier, you're going to be able to help that next person and be better off in the long run. So again, those are concepts that we look at and we can probably understand more, but understanding kindness, understanding emotions and their value, being able to feel them to their extremities, how to deal with it, whether it's anger or sadness or happiness or kindness, as I mentioned, compassion. Like there's so many different things that we can teach younger kids, and I'm so happy to be just like trending younger in this way, because as we continue to grow and reach different demographics, it's just going to be so important that we teach that earlier, and they'll have that emotional language that I didn't have early, and forms of self-expression through different mediums like we have in the high school age programs that are just going to be more significant in its power going forward.
Yeah, and you're right. Like even though they're 2, and we were talking, like we both have toddlers, they can understand it, right?
Yes.
Like we do rainbow
They're smarter
breathing,
than you think.
crocodile
Yes,
breathing,
yes,
and they can do it and self-regulate. So I think it's incredible because the work you're doing with the elementary school curriculum, you can probably even see your children in that as you're building it. So I think that's really cool.
I love it, and I love speaking about our young kids, because it's exactly that. Like even when my oldest daughter, who turned 2 in June, she gets a little bit worked up. We're working on her just taking that breath, inhaling, exhaling, but those things, like you said, rainbow breathing. It's just all of that really, I think, makes a huge difference. And while they might not quite understand it at this very early age, as their brains continue to grow at such a rapid rate, and I see it with my youngest daughter at 8 months, they just change so fast. But
they do.
As parents, as teachers, as caretakers, there's just such a great opportunity to have a really lasting, long-term impact, especially when their brains are so susceptible to change. So it's a beautiful thing.
And one last question for you before we get to the fun rapid fire ones, but an NBA All-Star player once told me he doesn't make new friends at this point in his career. And as you've gotten further into your career, how have your friendships and social connections changed? And is it harder to build real connections now?
I used to say it was much harder to make real connections, because especially within the elite fraternity that is the NBA, with 450 players and of course more numbers, and the NBA side, the NBA PA side, or NBPA, excuse me, and coaches and people who work throughout, from ownership all the way down to maybe the equipment manager. Like there's so many people over the course of that time, that when you're incubated, you might make friends within that lens or that scope of our organization. But I think because I've been just so open to not only myself sharing my story and paying it forward, but really listening and hearing others, and working on my being more empathetic and trying to be more evolved. Again, that's an everyday thing. So in some cases a struggle, but I have some success with it as well, that I've been able to lean into more relationships and make really long-lasting and evergreen relationships that I think will withstand the test of time. I mean, of course, I think everybody knows it, and you know it as well. Like there's the longest-running study, I think maybe in American history, but at Harvard, it's a study of happiness, right? Like so many generations, and people think the most important things for me are in the early 20s are money and success, and of course those things are valuable, and you in some cases you probably do want that for different reasons, but it's just not the only currency that matters. So at the end of life, they ask people, what is it that if they're on their deathbed or at their later stages in life and in their twilight, what is the most important thing to you, and what has made you happy over the course of time? And it's been those relationships. So I think that has been very eye-opening for me, because like we say in sports, numbers don't lie. So I mean, those statistics and that study has kind of opened my eyes to that, and I think I just feel that more in this being such a tribal space, the mental health space, the mental wellness space. It's been so tribal, it's so community based, and that's why we're sitting here having this conversation. It's like I see you, you see me, and I think that opens up just a lot of beauty, a lot of deeper relationships and deeper meaning. And I think people are always, searching for that and wanting to be on the winning side of history.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
So just some rapid fire fun questions
Okay, now
for
the
you.
fun ones.
Okay.
There we go.
Morning ritual you don't skip.
A cold shower. People think I'm crazy, but and I'm not trying to preach to anybody, but it just, not only does it wake me up, it just makes me feel so good. I mix that with my time with my kids and my daughters having their breakfast, myself and my wife having breakfast together as a family if we can't have dinner together at night. And I add coffee to that, and I'm like set up for a great day. But also, it's like they talk about swallowing the frog. I don't know if you've heard that expression, but like doing the hardest thing first, so that the rest of the day, there's nothing that's going to be harder than that. Everything is like downhill from there.
Yeah. One word that defines your mindset this season.
Resilient.
Okay.
I think that's my mindset this season and all 4 seasons.
Resilience.
I'm good. Yeah, resilient.
Nap or no nap pregame?
Nap.
Okay.
Emphatic nap.
And what's playing in your headphones before tip off?
Oh man, it's probably something that's either acoustic, not getting my heart rate up, it's slow, and that's typically on the drive to the game.
Okay.
And that's something that will just calm my nervous system down and just make me calm before going out to battle.
Yeah.
So for me, it's also keeping my energy levels very high and consistent, and kind of just riding a wave throughout, because eventually it's going to spike and the cortisol levels are going to spike and your adrenaline's going to get going. So keeping your heart rate at a steady, good baseline over the course of that time leading up to 7:30 p.m. whenever the game starts, that's
it.
Paramount. Yes.
And then last one for you is, how do you define success today for yourself?
What they say, failure to failure without a loss of enthusiasm? No, I mean, I think if original idea, I think, I mean, it's I'm not going to have anything profound, but I think it's just, success is just, I think of a Robin Williams quote all the time when he talks about, like, I don't know the impact that I've had in this world, but I think I do know that I've made other people happy, or, you're good. I think of this Robin Williams quote all the time where he talks about, and maybe it's not success, but it's kind of how I look at success and my, I guess, footing within this world. And he talks about how, I don't know what impact or, what I've truly done in this world. Of course, again, this isn't verbatim, but I do know that some people and people within my life, or people that I've been close to, were better off than, and are having a better life than if I wasn't here, if I wasn't ever in this world. So that type of impact and making others happy and paying it forward. Like I've said this over the course of the work I've done on myself, that in some ways, like, it's my way of being really selfish, because like the giving in this way has made me feel better and more comfortable in my own skin, and I feel like my feet are on the ground and I can be unapologetically myself in any room. And that to me is success. But what I really hope for later on in life is, like, I think success is like when your kids want to come home after they've like left the house. Like, that's what I think success is. So there's one definition now. I would urge everyone to look up that Robin Williams quote because I butchered it. But at the same time, like that's the idea of it. Is like I feel like I've helped create some sort of a community or impacted, one kid, and therefore you just don't know the larger impact throughout that person's life on a broader scope, community, and how that can change the course. So I think that that to me is being successful in a very long-winded way of a definition of success.
Great. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.